Greetings to another video. Today's video is going to be all about climbing, how you can improve, how you can get better, and what better day to do it on a day that I'm going up my local climb. So yeah, 7 different tips because I love climbing, I'm pretty good at climbing, and yeah, I just love all them hills. And very soon I've got a lot of climbing to do in the thing that I'm going to do. Actually, it's next week now. So yeah, let's get into the first tip. It's just practice. Practice climbing hills. You can't get better just by, spending a load of money on like a fancy new bike. Just practice. So what I did when I first started was I went on Strava Explore, found a climb near me, and that's the key, is finding it near you so that you can do it as much as possible. And yeah, just basically just ride it as much as you can, create routes that are hilly, and yeah, just practice. So I went on Dove Stones. I just used to keep going back and try and get a better time on there. Actually today I'm going to do pretty much just that. I'm on Ashy Valley, favourite little loop, perfect little climb, so I'm going to head up there now, then we'll get on to the second tip. Next tip is get lower gearing. Don't care what other people are going to say. Some people are a bit snobby about it. It's like, oh, you've got a granny gear, like, oh, look at the size of that cassette. Don't care about it, because if you can get up every single climb that you want to, then yeah, whatever. I can climb up pretty much any climb that I want because I've got low gearing, and it just means that you're not going to be grinding your legs, you're not going to be hurting your knees, and it just means that you're going to have a higher cadence. So it just makes climbing, I wouldn't say easy because you still have to put the power in to get up the hills, but it just means that you've not got as much stress on your knees and your legs, so you can then ride all day if you want to in the hills. That's what I do, and I feel like that's just like a big, I guess it's not even a secret, it's just get lower gearing. Shimano GRX is incredible. It's 4630. I think it's the GRX 600, so it's not the top end one. I think it's like 105 equivalent. I'll leave a link to it below. It's amazing. If you want to do hills and you want to make them feel a little bit easier on your legs, get lower gearing. I've actually got GRX on the front, and then I've got a 34 on the back, and you can see that I'm pretty much in my lowest gear. And actually I'm glad for a little bit of a rest. Every time I do this, it's just still so steep at the bottom and I have to have a little breather. Right, let's carry on. The next tip is the mental side of it, and I think for me, I've always from the start, even when I found hills really hard, I was like 100 kilos and it took me hours to get up even the shortest climb. Like, I always told myself, but I love hills, like I love it. I feel like hills make you fitter, hills are where the views are, hills I just love it. So even when it's hard, even when you're struggling, just be like, this is making me fitter, like this is making me a better cyclist. Just tell yourself that you love hills. Just tell yourself. Even if you don't necessarily believe at the start, tell yourself you love hills. I would take hills any day over a flat ride, because I just find flat rides, you might be quicker, you might get a higher average speed, but it's just boring, and for me anyway. And that leads me on to the next tip, and is ignore speed. Don't worry about speed. People get really hung up on how fast the overall speed was on a ride, and I'm just like, just ignore it, because hills are going to change that depending on how steep they are. And yeah, just ignore average speed. Just get out in the hills, because that will overall make you a fitter and faster cyclist. One of the metrics I use, and it's going to be different for everyone, I don't ever look at speed ever. I don't even have it as a metric on my Garmin, but I have elevation. That's my what's the word, my indicator of a good or a tough ride. I'm like, how many meters did I climb? Right, carrying up this hill. But how beautiful is it this morning? Look, absolutely blooming stunning. I'm not even anywhere near the top yet, so let's head up. This is the steep bit coming up. Actually, you can see it on here. So that is where I currently am. Got that little steep bit coming up, but I'm gonna tell myself I love the hills. Next tip, all about pacing the climb well. But I'm going to have to chat when I stop because it's steep. You have to learn how to pace on climbs, especially if you want to do a big hilly day. And it has taken me a bit of time to kind of figure that out and what works. But one thing that has made it just so incredibly simple and easy, and it's basically saved me a lot of time, because I used to do this manually, is Climb Pro on Garmin. It is phenomenal. Basically what it is when you incorporate a route or input a route into your Garmin, can you hear the little bird? It's so sweet. Anyway, when you input a route into the Garmin, it highlights all the climbs within that route. And there's a couple of different criteria. So it has to be at over 500 meters in length and above 3% gradient. And what that does is then creates like a list on your Garmin so you can have a look at how many climbs are in that particular route. When you are riding, it will kind of tell you that you are X distance away. So actually on that list, it'll tell you how far into the ride they are. So 25k in or 50k or 75 or whatever that is. Then when you're riding, it will give you like a little bit of a count. I think it's 200 meters. It starts telling you that the climb is approaching. When you hit it, it will just say go, and then the screen will come up and it will show you, and this is what I love and I find it so useful, is a color coordinated like elevation profile. The green section is 0 to 3%, the yellow section is 3 to 6%, orange 6 to 9%, red 9 to 12%, and then when it gets dark red, that is when you know you're going to need all those gears because it's more than 12% climbs. It also tells you the distance to go and how many meters elevation there is left. And if you've ever ridden with me, you'll know that I am just one of these people that's like, I want to know like how long the climb is, how steep it is. And before I had this, I always used to do this like, I guess manually with a pen and paper. So before a big ride, I'd mark out where all the climbs were, write it on a bit of paper and take a photograph of it. And then I would look at that during the ride. So I kind of knew where the big climbs were going to be. But this just takes all that faff out of it. And to have it on the head unit, it is the best product or like feature that I think Garmin has. I absolutely love it. For someone that loves hills, it just makes climbing just so much easier and like better paced because you know what's coming. So I will look at that list the night before and so I'll know like, okay, the first half has got the tougher climbs. I did this before All Points North. I had that in there and I knew where all the tough climbs were going to be, and it's just very, very, very good. And to add, like this is like even more exciting for me anyway, and hopefully for you. Garmin are now sponsoring me and the channel, so I'm made up because I've been trying out the 1030 Plus for about a year, all my long rides, and I'm so impressed with it. The battery life, the Climb Pro feature, there's just so many different features that I love at it, and I will do a separate video actually of my favourite features within that unit, but it's just great. It's absolutely brilliant especially for people that love to climb like me and do long days in the hills. So I'll leave a link to all the details below for that if you want to go and have a look at it. But yeah, thank you so much to Garmin for just creating a product that is just awesome, and for supporting the channel, supporting me to be able to make videos like this that's hopefully going to help you in your cycling life, I guess. Right, anyway, I'm going to climb up the hill, but oh, look at this. I mean, it's a bit cloudy, but look how beautiful that. Do you not think that just looks pretty as a picture? I mean, it'd be lovelier if there were blue skies, but I mean, oh, that's beautiful. Do you see those llamas? Oh my god, they're so cute. Oh my, I just want to cuddle them. Anyway, get on to the next tip, and that is eat and drink regularly, because when you're climbing more, you're just expending more energy, you're sweating more, so make sure you're having electrolytes. Another little thing that I like to do on the Garmin is you can set up food and drink alerts. So I have a food alert on long rides or longer rides. What's the difference? I mean that like if it's like a few hours, I don't necessarily do it, but if it's like 4 hours, I'll put it on as a reminder, especially on the Audexes. Food every 30 minutes and water, to drink a water bottle when it's hot anyway, 1 an hour. So I have that little alert just to remind me, and it was invaluable on All Points North, because when you're tired, it's almost like you forget. And it's not necessary to stop and have like a whole meal, but sorry, my nose is running. Classy as ever, just wiping it on the old glove. But what was I saying? Date or a little bite of a bar, or just something just to keep that energy going. Onto the top and onto the last tip. You're just so adorable. And the final tip is climb places where you've got beautiful views. Like, I would not really like climbing if it just was like in really built up areas. Not my favourite, but if you get views at the top, like what better motivation do you need than like stunning views? So get up out in the lakes and the dales and the peaks, just travel, get some good climbs, because you feel like this is my reward for like doing a tough climb, is like the beautiful view, and then now I get to do the descent. So this is not, well, it is a tip. Descending, go at your own pace. I know I get a lot of questions about, because I do a lot of videos about hill climbing. Descending, don't rush, don't feel like you've got to keep up with anyone, just take it steady. Push on the up, not on the down. So thank you so much for watching. If you've got any other questions about climbing, hills, long distance, leave them as always in the comments, and I will see you all next video. Thank you again to Garmin. Mega excited for this, and if you've got any products or anything that you want me to test from Garmin, I'm taxed now, then let me know in the comments, because I'm going to have the ability to be able to try things out. So yeah, I'll see you all next video. Oh, now I get the descent. Hi! Oh, you're just so adorable. Oh wow, that's really zoomed in.